Welcome to another match analysis. Today's match is going to be on Kohat AAS V1 and we are playing as Op4. This is my first time back to squad leading for a little while, so I'm a little bit rusty, but we had a decent match that really showcases a few things in particular. First of all, it's a great demonstration of how dynamic the early game in squad can be. A lot of plans change very early on, and a lot of the time you can completely shift your focus on what objectives you want to be going to based on the movements of your team and the enemy team. And this is a great demonstration of that. As usual, I'm going to start in the staging phase and show you all of that. The squad I'm going to be leading this match is, I believe, 4 BHM, 4 Blueberries.
Advance and secure. Приказ закрепиться во всем районе вперед.
When you get in, Wong will be on Russia. Where's my stiff? There's my stiff. Are you in? Wong?
No, not yet. I'm loading.
Cap, you know either of these heli pilots, can they guide us to victory?
I don't know. We'll probably just stick Logic since Mazai is a decent
Bottom hat has
fob for
optic.
mid.
You can check and roll loadout.
I'm gonna spawn in, we'll
One
all
now?
hop in the truck.
Oh.
One person grab whatever the light pick is. I don't know if it's a
It's a
scout
cheaper.
car or...
Who the fuck just got vaulted in the air?
Yeah, that's an interesting spawn in.
You got the
Let me know when you're ready, Wong. I'm just gonna unlock when you're in.
Ooh, Russians, I'm in.
Yeah. Risky blue.
You want to do backup?
Unlocked, possibly.
Been a fat minute since I used a tandem, this is gonna go great.
If you don't have a mic, leave now or forever hold your peace. If you do, spawn in, hop into Logi.
Don't kick me.
What's your name? Your name's Marcus Black.
Yes, I've played with you guys before. Bet.
Just do it now.
We are. I don't know who you
Wong,
are, but
will
I've
you
seen your
hop
names
in
on the
with
server,
Stip?
and I've played in your squad.
Stip?
bubble.
Stiff? Stip Oak Tree.
Yes, I played with
Yeah,
Stip.
I'll hop in with Stip.
You want me to drop him off for the back cap?
Possibly. I'm not uncertain yet. I'm gonna see if a heli can cover Lodi. Can anyone else cover Lodi? I can handle Bahadur, Madzai, and Malakabad if somebody can run north to Lodi. Somebody small. Like just a heli. Alright, so the best strategy for me if I'm going to be rushing the midpoint is going to be to take a helicopter, but obviously helicopters are incredibly inconsistent. I'm playing on Fear and Terror number 2 right now, and Fear and Terror servers have not been as active as they used to be recently. So largely when they start to get seeded, they get filled in with a big collection of randoms and they don't quite have the core community that they used to. So I'm basically only trusting pilots that I know or that I've seen before for the time being. It ends up being just fine that these pilots work out and they are capable and they demonstrate that later in the match, but I am handicapping myself here just at the risk of not wanting to lose 9 men immediately off game start to a crash. So obviously Malakabad is the midpoint, and I did place a fob creation mark on Madzai, which is our defense point. And the only reason I've done this is because it's already been quite a while, I'm not getting any markers from anyone else, and I'm really starting to think about how I want to persuade people to go to the midpoint, as I usually do. And the first thing I want to do is place a fob creation mark on Madzai in the hopes that it dissuades anyone from going there. Because in a worst case scenario, if Madzai gets rushed, I can probably handle that myself, and I want to get other people to be thinking more forward. So this is kind of akin to what I was talking about in my very first guide ever, where I talk about handling the back caps in order to encourage other people to go to the mid. By demonstrating that I have those 2 south caps and trying to get a heli or something to go north cap, but I'll cover that if they don't. I'm really kind of forcing people to go beyond, or at least hoping that it works out that way. If people end up placing markers that are too conservative, I'll try to talk to them directly and persuade them. As for whether or not I actually want to go to Madzai, that's still up in the air. If somebody offers to cover the north cap, I may just send my light Vic through the 2 south caps and then head straight for the mid through a north road. But of course that'll also change if other people start creating fob creation marks on the mid. I may be forced into a corner here. I'm really trying to just get a feel for this team that hasn't spoken at all yet and see what I can pull off.
Just a Bilbo radio tower, easy win.
The BTR squad's going to move forward towards Madzai.
Everyone built a toe for radio.
anyone get a span roll on this?
Squad's gonna 5. It's gonna land in Malakabad with the hell.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go north stiff.
Wait for me.
Okay, I'll grab Lodi then. So as you can see, the BTR squad says they're going to go to Madzai, which is fine. I don't consider armor and infantry to ever have the same goals. The BTR should be working towards thinking more about the map and the terrain as a whole rather than individual objectives and how they're going to counter enemy fix. So I'm not about to tell them to go to the mid. And then another infantry squad places a marker on the mid itself and a helicopter says they're going there. So at that point, I'm kind of butted out from really going too close, so I'm thinking I'm still going to stick to my Madzai because I have to send my light vehicle north to handle that last backup because the heli's not going there. So I'm thinking I'll just stick to my original move marker here and then support the mid as quickly as I can. I'm taking the Logi straight east. I'm going to have to drop somebody at Bahadur. I'm going to build at Madzai. When I build at Madzai, everybody has to push north to Malakabad. We're not staying on Madzai. I'm just building first there.
We're gonna take care of the backup.
Lodi? Or...
Ron, don't worry about it, one. If you want to just go straight up towards it, the hell you can get the first spot. If you want to even just go to the second one.
Hey, Rwando, because you might
Perfect,
want
thank you.
something with an optic.
I'll hit Bahadur and Madzai.
Might want to take a rifleman or something.
Now at this point the heli offers to take that far north back cap, which allows me the flexibility of having my light vehicle handle the Bahadur and Madzai back caps if I want to go push the mid and build another fob. But we're getting a little bit late on staging phase here. I'm kinda liking the idea of going Madzai just because it does get rushed fairly often and it's not a terrible fob for the midpoint. It's not fantastic. I'm going to be late through the combination of taking a truck and stopping at the defense point rather than going closer to the mid. So it's not going to be ideal. But at the very least, we should have an infantry squad covering the mid, and things should hopefully work out at least decently well, even if this isn't the best early game plan. However, I am a dunce, and after confirming that the heli is going north, I forget to tell my light vehicle, because I mentally start thinking, okay, I'm going to stick to my plan, and so then I don't think, oh, I need to tell my light vehicle that they can come with us now. I was more considering sending them along the route we were, so I just totally space out, don't even mention anything to them, and they start going up north, and you'll see me correct for that later. My bad.
It's been good luck shooting shit on this map.
But I am medic.
It's okay, he
Sure,
touched
sure.
many people, yes?
I am here.
Once again, guys, when
I
we get to
do like that.
Madzai,
Yes,
I'm
all the
going to
time.
need you guys to immediately push north towards the next flag. And I'm going to have to drop one person off at Bahadur. Sorry.
Whoa,
I am
whoa,
Sanidar.
Do I have any bright-eyed, youthful volunteers who are optimistic about our future and want to back up?
I'm gonna do whatever I do it, but I'm the hat, you know what? Wait for me, wait for me, wait for me, wait for me, wait for me.
Do it.
Actually, I'll let you guys do your thing.
Don't spawn, it's too...
You guys just let me know when shit is all ready to start.
I'll back up for Bahadur.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Nobody was bright-eyed enough.
I like backcapping. You get to see everything go south from a distance.
Be careful, don't flip the Logi.
Yeah, that'd be a bad back to
Especially,
squad
don't do it.
experience.
Don't do it when you're in front of a full infantry squad. On Narva, that's the best time to flip the Logi.
Is this from experience? Did I do this?
No, no.
Or did you do this? Who did
I was
this?
playing 9A. James did it.
I was gonna say, I don't remember fucking up on Narva that bad.
It was.
Okay, just
was the new
Icy's
Logi,
hopping
too.
out here. Nobody else hop out.
Go. Go. Be free.
Okay, I want to mention something here before I get called out for it. Yeah, I'm leaving a medic to do backcapping, and yes, I should be prioritizing medic and AT to stay in my vehicle. The thing about that is, there are so many times in squad where you need a lot of things covered, where you're on defense and you need people in all these different areas, and you can start thinking about where it's best for every single kit to be. But that's going to leave you with like 2 options for people who can do what you need to do, and oftentimes they are too far away, or they're unreliable, or they're not always on comms. This is probably lazy, and what I could have done is tried to get somebody else in the vehicle who was less important to do it. But I have this just philosophy of minimal effort. If there's someone I can trust to do it reliably and I can just say their name and say, will you handle backup, and then do it, I'm going to value that over having the correct kit do it and then having to have the headache of making sure it's actually going to happen. Anyone who SLs regularly, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're trying to deal with the match as a whole. You're trying to deal with one particular circumstance that's really fucking you up. You don't have the time to think at that micro of a level. Some people may disagree with this. Some people may say, well, obviously I would do it. But that entire time that I'm driving, I'm also trying to keep an eye on exactly where every other squad is going, whether or not they're sticking to their plans, my actual driving to make sure it's as good as possible while paying attention to all these things. There's just a lot of things I prioritize that are on my mind over making sure it's not the medic backcapping. Grab one from me too. Oh shit. I feel bad, Stiff, because I was supposed to tell you that they were gonna do that. And you know what I did? Not that.
I can go for the launch truck.
Yeah, hit up Chakar and let me know
there's a
it's there.
tree.
I got 27% packet loss just staying like that.
Yeah, I can
And I
hear
missed
that.
a turn because I'm bad at the game. Can't blame packet loss for that one.
Hey, we still like almost beat the heli here. I see this.
Now if we freeze frame here, we see both Blackhawks leaving the river valley from the south heading back towards their main. At the time, I assume that this means that they've both landed and they've set up 2 individual fobs somewhere in the river valley where the fighting matters, and that is really bad news because as you can see, our heli landed near Mudzai, nowhere near the mid where it was actually supposed to take that infantry squad. And ultimately the midpoint's not getting covered at all as far as I can tell by looking at the map right now. So this is going very, very south very quickly. From taking a brief glance at the helicopters in front of me and the map, I am assuming now that their team has made an effective 2-helicopter to midpoint fast push and has good control over the river valley, or has potentially maybe set something up at radio tower with an ATGM, something to that effect. And I'm assuming that our team, which is quite slow if we're being honest, I've made it to Mudzai in the truck at pretty much the exact same time that our helicopter made it there to land, and the other trucks and the other Vics took more of a convoluted route and didn't get there quick. I'm assuming that we're going to be in a significantly worse position. So at this point, I really don't mind being on Mudzai, because I assume that infantry is going to be coming. It looks like the helicopter in front of us just took off. So as we're piling in, I'm thinking about how I'm going to hold it, and I am now considering that this match is going to come down to the midpoint being the offense objective as the enemy team takes it, and Mudzai being our defense objective if I'm able to hold it. I am accounting for everything that has gone on, and now instead of assuming, as I always do, that the action's going to condense on the mid and that whoever captures that is going to have the opportunity to take the offense, I am pretty much giving up the mid at this point. I'll still fight for it, but I'm assuming that the mid is going to be full capped and is going to be the offense objective, and that we're going to have to hold Mudzai. Now, this does not mean that I'm just going to sit on Mudzai and accept that fate. I'm still going to have my people push north, and I'm still going to try to contest the midpoint, because if our back caps are efficient, we're going to be able to stealth cap Mudzai just fine. It's not something that we have to hold in a sustainable manner if we can start contesting the mid. So I'm still sending my people up there. This is just where I'm at mentally right now, and that's going to change very quickly, very soon. We didn't know. We're coasting in from here. Get ready for a possible fight. Gonna try to get a rally down right away. Might get 50 meters.
Touchdown. I am in the truck.
Rally's
Nice.
good.
I am. Just get back in.
Get ready to dump.
I was in the fucking dash.
Want me to hit that up?
God, they're looking at it.
Somebody dump 600 bill, please. Don't hit the rally. Actually, we have ammo. If you want to hit it, go for it. Somebody has to dump 600 builds, whoever's by that rally. Thank you. Dump a little bit of ammo, but not all of it. Around 300 or so, should be good. Everybody else push north to Malakabad. 1 shovel, everybody else push north. Once again, everybody push north to move mark except for 1 shovel. Everybody push north. At this point, it becomes apparent that Modzai was not rushed. A heli didn't land here, so I'm assuming the helis landed further north. I'm hopping back in the truck and getting someone with me so that I'm prepared to react. Once again, always remember as an SL, what you can do is you can play spawns, and that is insanely effective. I could just run north with my guys right now and join the firefight, but I'm hardly going to make a difference. Whereas in a truck, I can make every difference. So I'm grabbing one person to me and I'm taking a look at the map and trying to determine what happened. I hear no gunshots. Nobody to the east is dying and everybody's pushing clean. So I assume their fob is either in Malakabad or north of it, and they aren't pushing past the point. At this point, my light Vic is pushing up north on Kohat to see what's going on, and they get taken out. They kind of waltz up on a full infantry squad without realizing it because they're all piled into one area and they didn't hear them. And it was open top, so when one person dismounted, they got killed.
I didn't know. I just hear hell yeah.
No squad lead, wait up.
Just keep walking north towards Malak. At this point, I'm still playing Blue's Clues. Up at Kohat, it's possible that a Logi arrived at roughly the same time as our Tiger, but got there before it was in audio range, and then everybody was setting up, and that's how the Tiger died. It's also possible that a heli dropped them off and they were starting to spread out a little bit or continue building, and that's one of the helis we saw going south. The other heli is still unaccounted for. It could have gone to radio tower, but somebody would probably have been shooting at us or the team as we moved up towards Malakabad, if that were the case. At this point, my biggest guess is that it went northeast of Malakabad into the compound that's pretty traditional for people to build fobs at. If that's the case, our teams are kind of on equal footing with how far they have to walk, and I'm assuming that I can make a very aggressive fob on the south end of the point, and even if there are a couple of infantry who have just made it to the point, I can do this fairly safely, and that will give me an extreme respawn advantage over the enemy team. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Pizza, I'm going to meet you right here.
Alright, well.
This is a great ditch to put radio in. Easy defendable.
Yeah, kinda. Forces me to put it
Spawn on the forward half of Jakar, head up north and
up
head down
here,
south.
basically. Which is shitty. This is slightly less shitty. But still pretty shitty. Get nice and comfy on Malak, push a little bit northeast along my marks, because they're probably going to have a fob somewhere over there, if they are actually playing the mid. Guess we'll find out. Papa Bless, go ahead and hop in the Logi with me. Everybody else, keep pushing Malak. So this match went from me thinking we were never really going to capture Malakabad off game start to there being no enemies at Malakabad. I still don't know what's up with the helicopters. I guess we can assume that one did go to Kohat and helped out the team that way, but I'm guessing the other one's just I don't know, somebody playing Battlefield 3 and flying the transport helicopter in circles over objectives for fun, not helping the team. Whatever the case, even if they did land northeast of the midpoint in that traditional fob location, they're not pushing from it. They should have had plenty of time to get on the objective by now. So I am assuming that the midpoint is totally fine, totally sustainable, and totally secure. And now I'm thinking about how I want to attack Jakar. I need to do a few things here. I need to get confirmation that the team will stay on the midpoint so that we have a defense, which I will do in a little bit, I believe. I need to get somebody back to the truck, which I'm working on right now, so that we can start moving. And then I need to think about how I want to hit Jakar. As you can see, the small AT squad, whatever they're doing, they set up a fob over there, so that is my distraction. I assume that those people are going to push towards the objective and that they are going to get killed and call attention there. Now, any offense requires a simple distraction and then a flank and then just a sneak into their fob. It's pretty simple. And I have taken out that North Jakar fob more times than I can count. They always place it there. It is incredibly easy to counter in a way that I'll show in this video. So at this point, I pretty much have full confidence that we have enough presence on the midpoint that they will take a long time to capture the midpoint, even if they are going to overcome our spawn network and our infantry there. And I have full confidence that even with a full Blueberry squad, I could take Jakar quite easily once I get there. So this match went from me assuming that it was going to come down to Modzai versus the midpoint to me assuming that it's going to be Chakar as our defense point and Katazai being the offense point. Now, how I want to take out this fob is I want to go west of the fob that we have created. If I go northeast into the unknown, I'm most likely going to die. Not only am I heading towards an area where I'm predicting a fob is, I'm also heading straight into the blueberry effect zone, which if you remember is what I talk about when there's an objective that needs captured and an objective that was previously captured, or two current objectives that are going against each other, and how blueberries will walk from one to the other. It's kind of unrealistic to assume that people will walk from here to here, but you never know with blueberries. There could be a truck taking 9 men to each point that is now en route to there. There can also be east fobs defending Chakar, or people could have built weird fobs up in this valley. Stranger things have happened. We just don't know what's going on that side of the map. We also haven't accounted for armor. There's a striker, there's Bradley. They like to go to those north hills. There's a ton of potential for us to get fucked up on the east flank. So I'm going to take the slightly longer west flank. I'm going to go west of our fob where I feel safe, north outside of where you can see the map end here, and then come down from the north from a very good attack location that you will see over the next few clips. One downside to what I'm doing is that I have blueberries who are live on an uncontested point and I'm trying to spawn shift. Now I do have a couple people who are down and I tell everyone to push contact. Eventually contact is made to the northeast so I can get at least clan members who understand how you need to play this game to push in and die and not prioritize their lives and get ready to spawn. So I have that going for me. I also have the Tiger crew that died, so I'm having those people hold spawns while I move into position.
Where do you want me to spawn?
If you're down, hold for a bit. I'll take you and Stiff to Chakar in a second here. Malak seems quiet. In fact, Icy and Stiff just spawn at Chakar and head east. You'll probably die by the time I have my fob ready, but you can tell me what's going on. Malak should be an easy capture. If you guys have no contact over at Malakabad, just push north towards Chakar, up the valley.
Contact's still at the old, contact's at
Okay.
I have eyes on a full squad with a MG nest.
I'm giving you FTL, Wong. You can mark what you see.
That's like a full squad. Everything above.
Okay, we'll hit them from the north. Just push into them and die. If you've already made contact, if 2 is sneaky, just let 2 be sneaky, but I'll kind of want you spawning when I build to the northeast of them so we can hit it together. Everybody else, if you're alive at Malak, push into contact. And when you die, start shifting your spawn over to Chakarkot. We're going on offense.
Or lat on my west.
One is switching to offense. If we can get somebody dedicated to Malak, that'd be fantastic. I'm hitting Chakar. Now, every time I play with blueberries, I assume it's a wildly different playstyle than they're used to with other SLs, so I always try to, whenever I have a blueberry with me, make sure things are crystal clear on what I need before the time comes. Since, I don't know, I just do a lot of things differently, and there are a lot of people who are newer to the game, so I always like to make sure that my blueberry is prepared in advance for what's about to happen. Once we dismount, we're going to be building quickly, but try not to get spotted, try not to accidentally shoot. It's going to be a cheeky fob. I'm going to place a radio and a rally here, and then we're going to stretch the fob further south, most likely. Go ahead and hop out for a second. Alright, dump everything that's on the truck, please. I'll help you. Let me know when you spawn on rally. I'm gonna wait for you guys. We're in defilade. We're gonna stretch the map.
39 seconds.
I'm just gonna peek. Don't peek with me. I just want to see if I can see it. Okay, we can start moving. This is totally covered.
Telling right.
1 second.
I was trying to remember if I could jump the hill that I stopped at, and I can. And you can take the Logi all the way up to here, totally concealed and quiet. quite remember which hill it was that you could do that. Don't shoot this heli. And don't let him see you, just go prone. He'll start dumping supplies, let him not leave. Don't build the hound up quite yet, I don't want to see him. I don't want him to see it go up. Just hold off for a sec, because he's looking right at us. Just let him dump and then leave, and then build the hound. Everybody else, if you're dead, get ready to spawn in this new hab at your car. We're gonna make a stealthy push all together. Okay, heli's gone. You can start building.
He's gone. Should I start building again?
Yep, go ahead.
Alright. That was scary, bro.
Everybody help him dig. I'll go for the ammo crate as well. I want to rearm the rally and get it closer.
Somebody get control of the duty shooting at my BTR.
Get out of
The other side of the river.
Can you get out?
No, I can't. Take it down a little bit.
Somebody.
I'm in Chicago at cap range right here.
Okay. Make some noise. We're coming in on the north. Alright, let's move in.
Come on.
Don't shoot until you're shot at. Look for a hab or a radio. Warn that blueberry. Don't shoot till you're shot at, blueberry. I see hab instantly. We can proxy it quickly. Radio's by the truck. That's ammo crate. I'm running up on 2 people. They're both looking the wrong direction. 3 people.
Alex, there's people.
There's one up by the MG rifle. There's one on the ammo crate. There's one in the hab. One's inside the hab, alive still. One's on the machine gun, alive still. More are gonna come back.
Trying to push up to you.
Machine gun guy is dead. One's still in the hab. More will come back.
Radio's right next. I think they're all.
One's inside machine gun bunker. Right.
Inside the house.
I'm down. You can see I forgot I placed my observe and I get my markers backwards here, but you know, whatever.
Fuck the radio. Alright, 12 seconds. Use this.
Thank you.
I'm playing the ones that are trying to come and reinforce. Just keep pushing it.
Appreciate you. Hab's down a layer.
They're pretty much dead.
Yeah, check or Kohat.
I see. Were you saying you had radio?
Just up there in the
One's
MG.
still on there.
We need to
think we got
repair a rig.
Did somebody say they had radio? I heard somebody talking about radio.
Yeah,
There's a
right next to
radio.
that.
Cutting out icy. And you're quiet because I need to adjust my volume.
Right next to the house.
Okay.
We're digging it in.
Okay, everybody else go to cap range.
Yeah, cap range is fucking clear. We're capping right now.
We're gonna be on defense here. I need to go make a supply run. I'm not ready to hit Katasai.
I heard a GL to the west. We don't have any GLs on point. Unless it was the one that's way fucking out there.
I'm gonna drop a rally as another spawn. Do a launchie run. I'll be back with supplies. I'm up there. Okay, we're running Chakar. Chakar will be neutral soon. We'll hold defense on Chakar if other people want to go to Katasai. So I'm going to summarize what's happening right now. I'm running back to my truck. I just placed another rally. We got a few spawns. We're kind of covered. I want to get supplies. A heli offers to bring some in, so I try to get the heli to go to the other squad that's still on the point and drop a fob. So we end up triple fobbing plus a rally. I'm going for supplies while that happens, and I'm trying to talk to the team and convince as many people as possible to now move and leapfrog over to offense, telling them that I will handle the defense. And I'm just trying to look at the map and think about how I want to defend as I go for my supply run. While you're seeing these clips run, I want to talk about what was probably going on through the mind of the SL who was there at Chakar, because I have been in his shoes. Not since like V9 and being very, very new at it, but I have had similar thought processes to what I assume that guy was thinking that have led to me similarly getting fucked in the way that they just got fucked. The first thing he did was he did not go to the mid. He looked at the map and he went to the defense objective, probably under the assumption of, hey, let's play it a little bit safe, let's not get too aggressive and overextend and die immediately, let's try to make sure we have a decent match by at least securing this flag. Now, the issue with that line of thinking is that any flag is free until the next flag is captured. The midpoint is going to be where the action condenses if both teams have efficient backcaps. If your team has efficient backcaps, that Shakar flag can be captured by one stealth capper. It is not an essential area unless you lose the mid. This is why I'm always encouraging people to be so aggressive with pushing midpoints, because the midpoint is where the action condenses. That is basically a free flag unless you massively fuck it up. And one SL with one guy going there and building a fob just in case, and then getting one person to hide is pretty much all you need to do on that flag. And that is the absolute most that you need to do on that flag. That is assuming the worst. That's what I did on Mod Zai. I built a fob so that we could see it get proxied if it got rushed, and then I sent my squad away immediately, but I was back there in the truck just looking at the map trying to make sure it wasn't going to get rushed, and then eventually I left it. In the event that they did rush it and we had issues, we could just walk back and stealth cap it as long as we were still contesting the mid. The mid is much more valuable than the defense objective because of the nature of capturing the midpoint, not just because of the ticket difference. So that was his first mistake. The second mistake was he assumed that quantity of machine gun bunkers or sandbags, or how much he developed and built up his fob, was going to influence how effective the defense was. He probably assumed that he had plenty of time, so he was going to build up some machine guns and get a good, strong position. But in that same amount of time, he could have triple fobbed the objective. When we took out that north fob, if the enemy immediately started spawning back on the south and pushing cap range, we just would have been on equal footing. Instead, when we took out that north fob, we completely dominated the flag. It could have been the difference between a spawn wipe or just putting myself into a position where we were on the verge of capturing, and it could have gone either way. That could have been the difference created by a second fob. A third fob in a different area could have allowed him the opportunity to not just hold cap range with his second defensive fob, but also spawn engineers or spawn himself and somebody else to go place a rally to flank our spawn and actively defend and try to influence our spawn points at the same rate that we are influencing his spawn points. Similarly, everybody clusters up when you build, and everybody was clustered in that area and was super easy to kill. If those people instead had been getting 360 visual coverage, finding places of elevation, and looking around, well, if people just look north on that flag, I could not have done what I just did. And in fact, what I did would look stupid if I came in from the north and just got immediately shot by a machine gun looking north, but nobody thinks that far ahead in squad. Just having one person looking in an unexpected direction can prevent me from feeling this confident about taking flags. It's kind of funny how this looks like this advanced play where I did this really cool stealthy push and instantly took an objective that I felt very confident about, but the only thing you need to counter that is look the other way. And now suddenly this tactic doesn't work at all whatsoever and would embarrass me as I lost my truck. Anyway, as we're driving up, I'm going to take you to one of my last points of actually having to make a decision, which is when I get to main, walk you through what I'm thinking there, and then I'll just kind of summarize the rest of the match, because it's not terribly interesting from this point. Go for it. I'll hold defense. At this point right here, Pizza asks if I want him to spawn main, and that's because this is a super common thing that I request. It's why I largely do logi runs, so that I have the flexibility of picking up somebody at main. Arguably I could have somebody else do it and then respawn and meet them at main if I decide I want to do that, but it's kind of a convenience thing, even if it's not technically the most effective way to do it. But regardless, that's why I am largely the one who does logi runs if I have enough spawns where I'm actively at with my infantry. So he's asking if he needs me to spawn main, and I'm considering my options. Right now, I honestly have a ton of options. I could either go back to the defense and continue to build it up and to continue to make a better spawn network. I already pretty much have enough spawns, so my main things that I'd be considering is building rep stations, ATGMs, as well as just being there in order to place flanking rallies if an attack spawn comes up too close. Or I could go to the offense and I could help them out. I don't have too much faith in this team, to be honest, to be able to pull off the offense, and that ends up being the truth. They just kind of clash against that flag forever and never really build competitive spawns or really get up on it the way they need to. So I could probably coast in a certain way, build a spawn that will change it, have an engineer spawn shift, and possibly make the difference on offense. But this is Kohat. That is a long drive and that is risky if the defense starts going south. Or I could do the third option, which is what I would do if I was playing with two BHMSLs, where we are constantly thinking of the leapfrog. So to operate under the assumption that we were going to take that flag, and I would set up for the next flag in line so that we have a spawn to immediately spawn shift and I don't have to time everything just right. There's always the risk of losing the truck. However, once again, that's a big commitment to the east. So right now, the ultimate decision I make is to go fortify up the defense a bit. I could have gone for all three of these things for varying reasons with varying results. And to be 100% honest, I don't remember the exact reason why I chose it at the time. I think it was probably because I had like a half blueberry squad and I'm not entirely 100% trusting the defense of that flag if the enemy should do something that we just did back to us. I do want to be there, ready to drop rallies and flanking spawns to kill habs should habs that are a problem arise. Plus, of course, ATGMs are super useful on Kohat. The enemy team has not brought out their armor yet at all, and I'm thinking that might happen as squads get wiped, so I would love to have an ATGM up there, as well as a rep station for our armor, which has been doing really well this match. I'm just going to come back to you guys.
Alright, so copy. We're going to move into position.
It's going to take 7 a while, but they're going on offense. As I said, from here I'll just summarize the rest of the match. I make it back, I build an ATGM on the north that IC mans. He ends up taking out, I think, one striker, possibly another Vic. Anyway, we get a few Vic kills. The Bradley finally comes out to play, but it goes north and we never get line of sight on it, and it never really affects the team. In the end, we are mostly getting attacked from the southeast from that early game fob position that we assumed might have gone down. Turns out it did go down. Maybe not at the match start, but a little bit later. So we're just getting constant ineffective blueberry pushes from the southeast/east that are just not getting anywhere close to us. They are not building competitive spawns. They are not coming close. They are walking into people who are already set up with optics on hills. They're never going to take the flag like that. And we just farm tickets on the southeast. At one point, one squad does make a fob southwest of our objective in the river and hits our west fob, and that's the closest they come to actually doing something useful. But it's a great canary fob. It slows them down. We move some people in, we kill a couple, it ends up being a very small squad. We go down, we take care of their fob. It really wasn't ever too much of an issue, mostly because there were so few people and they got caught up taking down that fob, which was probably the right call on their end. I mean, as far as they know, that's our only fob, and then they could take the point afterwards, but ultimately, this is why we build multiple fobs on defense. It was a fantastic canary. It told us exactly where their location was. We were able to deduce where they built their hab, and then it slowed them down to the point where they were never going to affect cap range while we dealt with both them and their hab. I don't think anything else really happened. As I said, the offense never worked out. They eventually started almost surrounding the flag, but just never getting competitive enough spawns close enough to the flag to take it. And I don't know if they bled tickets or if they gained it on KD, but either way, when the end screen came, we were massively up on tickets. I could have gone and helped them out, as I did on that Yeho match recently that was on the channel, or on that Balea match where we helped out the offense. I could have tried to pull something like that, but instead I stayed on defense. I built the things I needed to build, and then I mostly spent the rest of the game taking the engineer down south to kill that fob we talked about, and then eventually swinging all the way down just on a whim to go kill the other fob that was the blueberry migration was coming from, just to finally end that and get a few tickets. That fob wasn't really a threat, but I just went for it because nobody else was attacking from any other angles, and 10 tickets to end the game a little bit sooner. So the ultimate conclusions of this match, I talked about what the other SL was probably thinking about how he went defensive but ended up kind of fucking himself over by doing that and not going for the mid, and about how defense is about looking in multiple directions and building multiple fobs, not super fobbing and looking in one direction. But the other thing that was really highlighted in this match was how quickly my perspective shifted in the early game. The enemy team dropped the ball when they could have had the advantage on us, and I determined all of that and changed my plan within a couple of minutes. A lot of SLs won't even think about these things until the flags are actually captured. Like, they would have sat on Mod's Eye until Bahadur was captured because they weren't feeling comfortable leaving. But because of my map awareness and because of how much I'm trying to piece together what both teams are doing, I felt confident to hit Jakar before Mod's Eye was captured. I essentially knew where the fight was before the flags had been captured and told us where the fight was. And that's something that can really help you as an SL. I want to go quickly into a story on a match on Narva AAS, where essentially it was a 6-flag layer, and because the early game went so well, we went to the defense objective. This wasn't me SLing, it was my clan member Fiasco. He was leading, we went to the defense objective and we had complete control over it, and another squad rushed the offense objective and had wrestled control of that, and then another smaller group had honestly gone to their second flag for a rush and had killed the only backupper. So we were set. As long as we could hold each of these locations long enough to full cap each one, the fight was down to their mercy bleed and their second flag within moments of game start. However, we still had a little bit of contact on the defense flag. So while we were stealth capping it, because the enemy was attacking us, but we still were able to cap it, my clan member Fiasco, who was leading, he made the call for everybody to hold spawns. And what ended up happening was when he makes that call and I'm not squad leading, I'm the one who tries to enforce it. You've seen this before where I have a second in command, so to speak, who deals with blueberry management so that I can deal with the game as a whole. Fiasco is trying to look at these next 3 flags in line and determine where he needs to be, which is a difficult question, relies on looking at the map a lot, and he has command level decisions to make. So I repeat multiple times to everybody to hold their spawns when they go down. We full cap the flag and I'm watching like a hawk. I've said it 3, 4, 5 times. There are people who are in-capped or dead while I'm saying it. So I make sure everyone's aware that they need to give up, hold spawns, and wait for us to set up a fob. But sure as the sun, blueberries don't listen and a couple of them respawn. Now if I'm leading I'll just kick them, but Fiasco's too nice for that, so he didn't. But ultimately the thing is, they fucked themselves over more than they fucked our squad over, because the enemy team was smart and they started leaving the position and they got left alive, and we captured flags faster than they could walk to them. We won the game before those guys could walk from their outdated position into a relevant firefight. And that is the lesson to draw from a match like this. You have to be aware of what's going on with the flags and understand where the fight's going to come down to. You can't get tunnel visioned and commit to something that's going to be irrelevant soon. We would have been fucked if we stayed on Mod Xi under the assumption that we weren't going to take the mid without adapting to new circumstances and taking a look at the map and seeing how things developed. My initial impression was wrong, and I reacted to it being wrong, and because of that we were not out of position. Anyway, that just about concludes this match, so as always I'll end it with the end screen and I'll see you guys in the next one. One thing to note about this ticket difference is that we had plus 20 for the midpoint and then plus 60 in terms of ticket difference for the next flag captured. So that only accounts for 80 of the tickets here. There's quite a bit for in-caps. You can see that we had a large KD difference and you can do the math yourself, and then the rest is all vehicles and radio kills.
Gas truck.
That was a really bad offense on the enemy team's part.
1 kill. They bailed out of the striker.
Alex,
Gang that.
nice shooting.
Goddamn, Alex, what were you doing?
It was like fucking ram. Just diving.
Sometimes people need killed. Call Alex.